would you describe just the fall 4 practices and what you were trying to get accomplished versus now, how that changes that games start coming before you get into the regular season schedule?
Yeah, I mean, I think each day has been a little bit different, but our energy has been off the charts good. Really attentive to what we're trying to install, with regard to our system and our culture, and a little bit more intense than what we would do in a normal regular season once the games begin. We have a game. Today's practice was no contact, obviously because we have a game less than 24 hours away. But it was intense, and there was speed, and there was energy to it that was productive. But that'll change obviously when games come around.
Frank, in the case that you do start, or whether it's every game or some games with a big lineup, have you seen differences in what DeAndre and Dwight do with respective units and how those guys might fit in that sense?
Yeah, well, we do anticipate most of the time having either AD, Dwight, or DeAndre in there. We have talked about playing some centerless lineups this year, but for the most part, one of those guys will be in there, and then, and again, striking the right balance with AD playing with one of those guys or as the center, will be something we'll evaluate throughout the year, but we'll find that balance.
Yeah. It's important to stay centered as a coach.
Yes.
What's the outlook for what's the outlook for Trevor with that ankle? Is that something that could be a lingering thing?
Yeah, we'll see. Right now it's he's still just out with the sore ankle, and right now we're just in the process of evaluating day to day and see where it's at.
Is that something that occurred during the first practice, or something he was dealing with when he came into camp?
I think he was dealing with it before camp began. Yeah.
Okay.
The number of 11 new guys is kind of a daunting thing to fit to the new mix, but two of the guys were just here with you less than a year ago, and Rondo and Dwight. Between those two and THT and LeBron and AD, is there any do they have any sort of built-in camaraderie, or have you noticed anything, particularly with Dwight and Rondo coming back to the fold?
Yeah, I mean, I think those guys, with the nature of the shortened season and the pandemic, running into October with how we won a championship, it's almost like those guys never left. It really is. They've come in and have understood everything we're doing as if they're returning players. There's very little of a learning curve, and obviously the continuity with Bron and AD, and in some ways Talon is already there. I don't think they're going to skip a beat. So I do view those guys as continuity guys.
I'll just go. Dwight handled the kind of adjustment to role with you guys the first time around so well, especially in the postseason, right? There were series where he didn't play, and then there were series he was really important where he started. How do you think DJ is going to handle that? He hasn't really been put to that sort of, sometimes it's going to be this, sometimes it's not. Is there any way to really know, or?
Yeah, well, everybody on this team, is knows coming into this group that whatever needs to happen for our team to win a championship, they have to be bought into that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a minimum requirement for playing for the LA Lakers, and sometimes that does mean not playing. Everybody understands that. I don't think DJ has been shown nothing but a first-class attitude for everything that we're trying to do, and I think he's on board with everybody else. That whatever the team needs, that's what he's going to be on board with.
Realistically, you guys have a glut of your best players out tomorrow. The Nets announced, I think, most of theirs. What's the value of tomorrow? What do you get out of tomorrow's game?
Well, it's different for everybody. AD's going to play. AD didn't finish the season. He finished in street clothes because of injury. He wants to get out there, so we'll support him on that. He'll be able to get his feet wet and get back on the floor. The guys that are going to play, are really, it's really about, our group. We have a mindset that, while managing minutes responsibly and managing bodies for the marathon, that the 5 guys on the floor are going to play all out. We're going to play harder than our opponent, more physical than our opponent, and that habit's going to win for us in the playoffs. So, everybody that's coming in and going to play, in particular the new guys, they got to get up to speed with everything we're doing with the new system. So there's to me tremendous value in tomorrow's game.
And a quick follow-up, I think you mentioned the other day that for the first 2 games, you kind of see guys in and out. Do you think in that second game at Phoenix, you'll see the same guys out, or you're going to flop it where maybe AD takes a game off, or how do you plan?
Yeah, we're taking it game by game. We know we don't want to overdo. The main guys, we want to get them enough to get ready for the season and nothing more. You know what I mean? We really don't want to overdo it with those guys, but we want to give them enough time to get a rhythm with each other and get their legs under them. So the decisions on the preseasons will be made game to game.
Davide?
Hi, Coach. Davide from Italy here.
What's up, Davide?
Obviously, good to see you, even virtually. Obviously, you're still in your first week of training camp, but what do you think of you have done so far? And are you happy with what you guys were able to do so far?
Yeah, I feel good that we've gotten a lot of our system in a very short period of time. Obviously just with the returning guys and a returning coaching staff for the most part. We've been able to be very efficient with the short time that we've had here this week. And but obviously there's still a long way to go, and there are a lot of times we implement and then try to tighten the screws and focus on the details after the fact, and that's kind of where we're at right now.
Harrison?
Hey Frank, I feel like we've talked to you about every new guy except for maybe Malik Monk. I was just curious what you've seen from him so far in training camp, and if anything, has stood out to you that maybe you didn't know about him as a player before. Yeah,
I just think the versatility offensively of what he brings to the table has been what stood out the most with Malik. He's had a great first few days for us. He really has. He shot the ball well, but he's really just performed offensively in a lot of different ways. His cutting has been very effective. His movement without the basketball, running the floor, his ability to catch lobs, both on the break and in the half court. What he can do off the bounce. He can initiate offense. I wouldn't put him as a full-time point guard, but you can run certain actions where he's initiating for you. Because he's comfortable with his handles. So his offensive versatility is probably what sticks out the most.
Last, Bill has a follow-up.
This is probably a stupid question too, but do you and Steve Nash coordinate? We're not playing stars in this game. Is there a conversation like that?
Not really. We haven't for this game.
Okay.
There's been times in the past. I remember Steve Clifford and I talking about trying to play zone so we can both work on it in the bubble one time. But for the most part, you just focus on you're going to have 5 opponents on the floor, and what's best for your group, to go and make use of that Sunday, to help you get ready for the season. But we did not coordinate.